The interview began like any other. Neutral lighting. Familiar questions. A setting designed for comfort and control. Soo Kai sat composed, relaxed, smiling in that way fans know so well. Nothing suggested that within minutes, the internet would fracture under the weight of a single confession. And then it happened. Not loudly, not theatrically, but unmistakably. Soo Kai spoke, and the line between rumor and reality disappeared. For years, the connection between Soo Kai and Tan Songyun has lived in a strange space between speculation and silence. Their chemistry was undeniable. Their interactions carefully measured. Fans sensed it, analysts dissected it, yet neither ever crossed the line from implication into truth. Until now. During what was supposed to be a routine question about partnerships and memorable co-stars, Soo Kai paused. A pause that lingered just a second too long. His expression shifted. The practiced ease gave way to something heavier, something personal. And when he finally spoke Tan Songyun's name, it landed differently. This was not nostalgia. This was not promotion. This was confession. Did he mean it the way everyone hopes he did? Soo Kai did not hide behind metaphors. He did not deflect with humor. He spoke plainly, admitting that his feelings for Tan Songyun were not limited to admiration or professional respect. He acknowledged love, not as a rumor, not as a possibility, but as something real, something felt, something that had grown quietly while the world watched from a distance. The room changed. Interview staff exchanged glances. The host hesitated, unsure whether to continue. Soo Kai himself seemed aware, in that moment, that there was no undoing what had just been said. The confession was not dramatic in volume, but in consequence. Once spoken, it belonged to everyone. Within minutes, clips spread like wildfire. Social media platforms lit up as fans struggled to process what they had just heard. Some replayed the footage repeatedly, searching for signs of editing or mistranslation. Others went back years, stitching together old interviews, behind-the-scenes moments, and shared glances that suddenly made sense. This was the explosion no one was prepared for. Why now? Why in an interview? Why without preparation? Perhaps because love, when carried too long in silence, demands air. Soo Kai has always been known as someone careful with his words, mindful of boundaries, protective of privacy. For someone like him to speak openly suggests a breaking point, a realization that honesty mattered more than control. Tan Songyun, though not present in the interview, became the emotional center of it. Known for her sincerity and grounded nature, she has long been admired for keeping her private life exactly that. And yet, in this moment, she was pulled into the spotlight without saying a single word. And somehow, that silence made the confession louder. Fans responded in waves. Shock gave way to joy. Joy gave way to disbelief. Disbelief gave way to something deeper. Gratitude. Because moments like this are rare. Unfiltered truth in an industry built on careful narratives is almost revolutionary. Is this the beginning of a public chapter, or the closing of a private one? Critics debated whether the confession was intentional or impulsive. Supporters praised the courage it took to be vulnerable on record. Neutral observers acknowledged one thing above all else. This was not a marketing tactic. It was too unpolished, too sincere, too human. Soo Kai did not follow the confession with demands or expectations. He did not frame it as an announcement. He simply let it exist. And that, perhaps, is why it resonated so deeply. Because love does not always arrive with certainty. Sometimes it arrives with risk. As the internet continues to react, one truth remains undeniable. The narrative around Soo Kai and Tan Songyun has shifted permanently. Whether this confession leads to confirmation, clarification, or quiet distance, the illusion of indifference is gone. Something real has been named. And in an era where stars often say everything except the truth, Soo Kai chose the most dangerous option of all. He spoke it. The internet may explode. Opinions may clash. Stories may be rewritten. But long after the trending tags fade, this moment will remain. A reminder that behind the interviews, behind the fame, behind the endless rolls, there are hearts carrying stories too heavy to stay silent forever. And once love is confessed out loud, it never truly goes away. And still, the confession did not settle into silence. It echoed. Because once the words left Soo Kai's mouth, they stopped belonging only to him. They moved through screens, across languages, into the hearts of millions who had followed the story without ever being sure it was real. And now, certainty had arrived in the most unexpected way. What follows a confession when the whole world is listening? In the hours after the interview aired, the atmosphere around Soo Kai shifted noticeably. He did not rush to clarify. He did not issue a statement to soften the impact. Instead, he chose restraint, and that restraint spoke volumes. It suggested that what he said was not a slip, not a mistake, but a truth he was finally ready to carry in the open. Industry insiders described the moment as rare. Confessions are usually scripted, timed, negotiated. This one was none of those things. It was too quiet, too sincere, too imperfect, and that is precisely why it felt real. Meanwhile, Tan Songyun's silence became the most analyzed response of all. No immediate post, no denial, no confirmation, just absence. And in the world of celebrity, absence can be powerful. It leaves space. It invites patience. It protects something fragile from being torn apart by urgency. Fans noticed the respect in that silence. Instead of demanding answers, many began reflecting on the years these two spent building trust on set. On the way Tan Songyun always spoke of Soo Kai with warmth, never exaggeration. On how Soo Kai, in past interviews, often paused when her name came up, as if choosing each word carefully. Was the confession really sudden, or was it simply overdue? As debates raged online, one theme kept resurfacing. This did not feel like a beginning. It felt like a reveal, as though something long guarded had finally found the courage to step into the light. And yet, with revelation comes risk. Soo Kai's confession placed him in a vulnerable position. Love, once named publicly, becomes subject to opinion, judgment, and pressure. But perhaps that was a price he was willing to pay. Because some truths lose their meaning if they are never spoken. The interview will be replayed for years. Not because of its production quality, not because of its headlines, but because of a single moment when a man chose honesty over safety. And somewhere, beyond the noise, beyond the speculation, there remains a quieter story unfolding. One that does not belong to the internet. One that may never be fully shared. A story between two people who now carry a truth that cannot be taken back. Whether this leads to public confirmation or private understanding, the impact is already sealed. The narrative has shifted. The question is no longer if there was something there. The question now is what they will choose to do with it. Because love, once confessed, changes everything. Even if nothing else is ever said again.